Hey folks, it's Cal again, and this is my VR4, and it needs more maintenance. Yes, this time it needs the lash adjusters replaced. She's making the tickies, and no matter what I do, it's just ticking even when it's warm now. So basically the old lash adjusters are a shot. There are two things we basically need to do this job, and the first one is some lash adjusters. Here's some I cooked earlier. Now I just storing them in here because they're in diesel. I wanted to sort of keep the fumes to a minimum. There they are. 24 replacement lash adjusters, and these ones are the ones with the slightly larger diameter hole. I don't want to get too much diesel on my hands right now, and I will show you later, but these little doodads have a larger oil orifice in them, and it basically stops them from ticking over a longer period of time, right? So even after 20, 30, 40,000 Ks, they're much less likely to tick. The other thing we need is one of these. This I actually bought on eBay a long time ago, and it is a lifter removal tool, and you'll see how I use this, but essentially the way it works is when you get the rocker cover off, you can hook this thing under a cam lobe and push down, and it lowers the valve spring, which allows you to remove effectively the rocker or follower that comes off the cam, which is what covers the lash adjuster, and then you can pop that thing out and you can pop a lash adjuster out. So those and this, and also big thanks to Steve Hunt from Transformance Mechanical Engineering for the rocker cover seals and also the spark plug hole seals. You need these because after a long period of time the rubber gets hard. If you don't replace those, you might put the whole thing back together and it leaks like a sieve. My previous car was a Mitsubishi Magna. I replaced the lifters in that car, and after doing so the rear rocker cover leaked for something like a year, and before I finally just got crazy and ended up using some silicone goop to seal it up. Basically, that car was a lot harder because the rocker cover was made of tin and warps easily. These are sort of an aluminium thicker material. But those are the things you basically need to have to get the job done. You do need, supposedly, should have I should say, a very low range torque wrench that can do 3.2 Newton meters for these bolts here that hold the rocker cover down, which is really not a lot of torque. Look, you can try it by hand honestly, but they recommend you have the torque wrench. So we're going to get into this job soon, and I'll sort of run you through the whole process. The next thing I'll be doing is looking to shine the light on the motor a bit better. Is removing all the piping from here. These are the turbo pipes, and plumbing up all the holes with socks so nothing falls into them, and getting everything off the top of that rocker cover there, and then getting the rocker cover off. So we'll see. Well, here we are with the front rocker cover off. Wasn't that hard. I removed the coils. That was about it. Moved everything else out of the way, obviously. Oh, sorry, correction, I did remove the main turbo Y pipe. There was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bolts to remove from the rocker cover, and then what I basically did was I used a screwdriver to gently lever the plastic here out of the way so it could pop out. Now, I'm interested in this because this motor's got 120,000 Ks on it on a 14-year-old motor, and I don't know, it's been sludged in the past a little bit. It's not terrible, but I wouldn't say it's perfectly clean. I suppose you might say this is the symptoms of a car which at some point in its life had sat for a while, which is probably fair considering it's an import. But yeah, the cams look pretty good. If anybody who's watching this video has a different opinion about the quality or the look of those cams, feel free to hit me. This car currently puts out about between 160 and 170 kilowatts at the wheels with a initial tune. It's got a full exhaust, but the muffler's still the stock exhaust and a fairly small intercooler. But other than that, it runs quite well, and the ticking. So I wouldn't say I think it has any mechanical issues, but yeah, looks a little bit dirty. Anyway, we're going to get down to removing one of those. Okay, so this is where we're going to get into it. Now the trick is, you're actually taking the tool here and you're pushing that way. So by doing that, by pushing, you're lowering the valve and allowing this little doodad to pop out. I wouldn't say this is easy by any stretch, because the likelihood of this thing popping off the valve is pretty high. You're actually compressing the valve into the head by doing this. Now, there's no real danger of damaging it because the amount of force you're going to apply is fairly low, damaging the valve that is, but getting these suckers out, that's something else. I'm going to use a magnet. Oops. Slippery little sucker. I think that'll pop out now if I grab it properly. And it did. Alright, I'm going to put this, just going to put this aside. Focus, never going to focus, is it? I'm going to put that aside. And I'm going to try and grab the lifter. Now, if it's sticky, I'll just grab it with a pair of pliers to get it moving. There we go. Be careful, you don't want to drop things into the motor. Let's zoom out and see if we can get some focus on this bad boy. Really doesn't want to focus, does it? Come on, focus. Anyway, that's the old one. I'm going to go and pop the new one in now. I'll just zoom back in with my terrible camera work. And you can see the hole there where the old one was. Grab a fresh one out of my tank of diesel. Drop it in. Now be careful when you put it in. You're going to spray oil at this hole, which is going to go down the spark plug. So you want to basically cover that with something. A yucky old rag. See the oil coming up there? There we go. And that's getting one in. Now we'll try and reinstall this rocker. Probably a technique to this which I haven't mastered yet. I think that's it. Coming from the side, get almost on, lever the valve down, and that's it. Now that's actually cocked a bit. There we go. Looks pretty good. So you can see I'm doing it slowly. This is the first time I've done it, but it's not that bad. So let's continue. Okay, so we've done a couple of the lifters, and the savvy among you may have noticed something very important, and that is the ones we did have the lobes pointing away from the valve. I've actually done that one as well. what do we do about the ones which are facing the valve rather than facing away from the valve? The answer to that is we have to turn the motor over. We have to slowly turn the motor over until these lobes, the ones we haven't touched yet, be those ones, and in particular those ones there, on the inlet side on that one, are absolutely facing against the valve. There's two ways you can do this. You can do it the proper way, which is to turn the motor over by jacking up the front right side of the car and reaching through with a 1/4-inch drive socket to turn the motor over by hand through the harmonic balancer, which is basically the pulley where all the belts attached to. That's the correct way. The quote-unquote easy and cheap way, which I don't know if I'm going to do, is you tickle the starter motor, just crank it like just a touch, bang. There is a risk the car would start, so the way you would avoid that is by disconnecting. Well, actually, do you know what? That's a lie. With the coils disconnected, it ain't going to start. So, yeah, tickle the starter motor just a tiny bit, and you should see it turn over to the point where your cam lobes are facing in the right direction for you to continue working and get that head done. Anyway, once I'm finished with this head, I will show you the rotation of the motor as well in a minute, but once I'm finished with this head, we'll button the whole thing back up, and I'll finish this whole front head one head at a time. All the lube and all the sealing, the replacement gaskets, I'm going to do all that, put the whole thing back together, and then we're going to move on to the rear one, which is fun because we have to remove the whole plenum chamber assembly, and the strut brace, the chassis brace, and yeah, that's not a hard job. It's just bolts, you know, lots of bolts, having to put the stuff in certain spots so you don't lose the bolts when you get them off the car. But we'll get there. Well, I got my old lifters out of the front of the Legnum here, and geez, this car's 14 years old and had 130,000 Ks on it, and I've had these things soaking in diesel. I cannot depress the ball in them, no matter what I use. I've used a couple of different tools. It is absolutely jammed solid. I don't know if that's normal. I don't think it is. I think these things are completely gummed up. I'm going to leave them in the diesel for a couple of days, but I don't think they're going to come good. Good thing I replaced them.